In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 10 steps to go from a completely blank DAW project to this. We go into every stage of this, including picking the right sounds, crafting an amazing chord progression, using that chord progression to inform our other elements, sound design, mixing, arrangement, and so much more. These are the exact techniques that have helped our accelerator students get signed to some of the world's biggest labels, tour the world, and accrue over 100 million streams. If that sounds good to you, you can check out the details below. And as usual, you can download this project file, all the samples completely free, because I'm nice like that. Okay, without further ado, let's hop into the door and get it done. One take Billy-O, no edits, let's get straight into it. I'm going to set the tempo to 120 BPM, and then I'm going to open up my favorite kicks in my favorites pack, like so. Nice. And I want something really kind of muted and deep, so I'm going to choose that black coffee kick. Let's just turn off Discord, naughty Discord, and then let's pop in a kick on every beat. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Next thing I want to do is work out the chords because I'm using my magic list. And if you want to see what my magic list looks like, it's something like that. Okay, and it's very important we follow every step of that process. So next thing to do is work out a chord progression. I'm going to write this in A minor because it's the easiest key to work in because you're basically just using all of the white notes from A up till A. So it just makes producing a bit easier. So let's just create that and call it chords. And we're not actually going to use this sound. The reason I'm using grand piano is it just makes it easier to not get distracted by all the beautiful sounds of sound design. I literally just want to get something that's going to work as our chordal understructure for the entire track. And then we're going to make it sound awesome. So I'm just going to hit scale mode in A minor. And as we can see, we've got our A here. So first thing I'm going to do is work out the bass notes of each chord. That's going to make it easier. I'm going to start on the root note. That just keeps things easier. I haven't practiced this. Sounds cool. And you can see I'm actually changing those chords like an eighth before the beat to drive that groove forwards, like so. And we'll put it there as well. Cool, so now I'm going to build out the chords above this, and I just need to skip a note each time when I'm in template mode, like so. And that's going to make a triad. But I'm going to use a held chord technique, and if you've been through my music theory course, you'll know about that. And we are just going to hold that chord there. So again, I'm going to use that at that point. And I could use a different chord at the end there. Except I like that. So our chord progression is already done. We're going to break this out into different sounds in a few minutes. But the next thing I need to do, as it says on my magic list, is work out the beats. So I'm going to use Splice for this, but you could use Loop Cloud as well, or if you've got a sample pack, that makes things even easier. And the thing I'm listening out for is the timbre more than anything else. I can change the rhythm, I can change the tempo, but finding frequencies that work well with your main kick drum is going to be the most important thing. And I want a shuffle loop. So what I'm going to do is look for cabasa, because I want something a bit different from a normal shuffle. And you can sync it up using Splice Bridge. But again, I don't care if it's in sync. I just want to listen out for frequencies that I think gel well with this kick. Okay. I like that one. I'll have that. It's just got some nice grittiness to it, which I think works well with the kick. I'm going to bring that in. And that's 120 BPM. Let's just get rid of Splice for the time being. And then we just need to make sure it's warped correctly, 120 BPM. And the reason I can see it's 120 BPM, it tells me right there, see. So now we've got our shaker loop. Okay, let's get to it. We need to speed up, otherwise it's never going to get done. And we've got a time limit that we're working to. I'm just going to call that cabasa. Sounds like a spice, doesn't it? Right, next thing I want to do is get a main clap or snare in there. And because I want this really nice, tight, deep sound, I'm going to go for a 909 clap. Let's get a nice clap in there. Again, I'm going to go to my favorites. Really important to collect favorites because it just makes working way quicker. And as you produce more and more, you can save out your favorite samples and then you've always got something to work with straight away. And working quickly is the name of the game. Keeps that flow going. So let's just put that on every other kick drum, like so. And I'm going to tighten up this clap sound as well. That cabassa's too loud. Okay. I'm just going to tighten that a little bit, like so. I want that really nice, kind of close sounding clap. And then what I'm going to do is, if you're using Ableton and you're using the drum rack, you can open up this routing button here and the R button down there, and you can right click and choose Create Return Chain. And then you can use any of your auxiliary channels that you may have created before and then assign that to be controlled within this drum rack. And this is brilliant because then you can just feed a little bit of room reverb onto any of the drums that you want, and it just gels everything together. So I can close that down once it's done. And then you've got this little send control here. So let's add a little bit of that to the clap. So it just gives it a little bit of wetness. We could do that to our cabassa as well. A wet cabassa. Never underestimate a wet cabassa. So already we've got something that kind of gels together quite nicely. Right, stop wasting time, Will. We need to get on to the next thing, which is the bass line. This is really going to give us the groove of the track. And to do that, we can use this chord structure, this chord progression that we've already created. And I'm going to do this, I'll use Serum, I think, because we can just use the root note of these chords. So that's the F, the D, and then the E. I can just copy them and use them as a template. Let's just put that there. But the easiest thing to do is just create a bass rhythm that works well with your drums just on the root note of the track. So in this case, it's going to be A. And that's going to make things easier because then you're just focusing on the rhythm rather than the pitch, and then we can adjust those pitches to the different root notes afterwards. So 16ths is the grid I'm going to select because all the fun happens on the 16ths. That's too loud and too high. So let's take that down a little bit to the bass frequency. So I'm just coming up with like a bass groove that works well. Maybe. And I want as few notes as possible to create the effect that I want. It's too easy to overcomplicate tracks, and quite often stripping things back will add more to it. Cool. So that already sounds good to me. And then I'll switch it up the second time it runs through like that. And that is our bass rhythm. So we could start the track on that, and we will be getting to the arrangement very shortly. So stick around for that. But next thing I want to do is actually make that bass sound not completely rubbish. So I'm going to open up Serum, and I want that to be like a plucky, deep sound. So I'm going to first create a bit of an envelope shape to make it a bit plucky. And a filter. And I'll apply the envelope to that too. Nice. And I'm going to add a sub bass to this. Just a sine wave. Just to add some more depth. Nice. Now what I'm looking for in terms of levels, if our kick is peaking at -12, if we've got a balanced mix, when everything's brought together, we should be hitting about -6 on the master channel. And we're going to see if my theory works later on in this video. It means we've also got some other guidelines for matching the levels of other things. So we don't need to be an expert mixer. We can just follow these guidelines. So I'm going to share some secrets with you today. Now, firstly, with the bass line, I want those bass frequencies, so everything under about 100 hertz, to average about -20 decibels. So I'm going to stick this there just to take out the high frequencies of the bass line. And I'm going to look at this mixer And I want to make sure that this light green one, not the dark green one, which is peak, is averaging about 20 decibels. It's a bit quiet at the moment. Now, it looks like it's averaging about 20. So I can take this off. And I know that bass and kick is fairly well balanced, like straight out the gate. Yeah, loving it already, like simplicity. I'm gonna add one extra clap in because I'm a naughty boy. Let's add one on the snare skip point. Yeah, cool. Right, magic list, what do you say to me? You say to me some very cool things. After doing the bass line, I'm gonna make the synth chords, and that is going to be using, again, the notes we've got from this grand piano template that we built ourselves. So let's create synth chords, and I'm gonna show you something I haven't shown anywhere else before. This is a really cool thing. So let's use the same rhythm as that bass line. And I'm going to take these held chords. So we're just hitting the same chord every time. So that's A, C, and E. That's the root chord of A minor natural. So that's A, C, E, like so. Let's put it up a couple of octaves, like so. And I'm going to actually bass it on the same shape as the bass line. So I don't need to do that much editing. Let's just call this synth chords. I'm going to sneeze and I can't edit it out. This could be embarrassing. It could be... Excuse me. Right. You can write bless you if you like in the comments. I appreciate it. Thank you. Right. So let's get these synth chords going. We will need to copy that serum on there. Oh, it's really hot in here. Whew. Ooh, nice. I'm going to tweak this slightly. So I want a slightly different sound in this. I'll take the sub out. I'm just going to tweak, make it a little bit smoother. We could add unison and then we've got a dead mouse pluck on our hands. And that adds some stereo width as well. But there's one extra thing I want to do here. I just want to add this note. It's just telling me to add it. I'm just going to add that there. And again, using the template technique, it's really hard to actually hit a wrong note. But this is the really cool thing I wanted to show you in a second. First, let's add a little bit of reverb to this. So I'm going to add Hall reverb. It's basically just a reverb with over about 5 seconds of decay time. It's not an exact thing. It doesn't have to be over 5 seconds. But it's basically a long decay. That makes a Hall reverb. Oh, I could add delay to that. First, let's have a listen to the groove. And I'm going to have to delete like maybe one of the bass notes. I don't want every bass note playing at the same time. Something like that. So again, I'm just kind of simplify it. Simplify it. Yep, I accept this into my heart and my soul. Okay, we got a groove going on. Nice. Right, this is the thing I wanted to show you. So with this synth chords, you can have that stereo width and it sounds pretty cool. But I want to show you something else. What we're going to do is create extreme stereo width and have it not create phasing issues. So at the moment, if we sum this all to mono, so we're just listening in mono. There's some phasing happening. If we detune it, we'll hear it more. And actually, we can look at this and see what's happening. So if we put an EQ on here, we can see the shape is changing all the time as this phasing occurs and the waves kind of fight with each other because of the detuning. So if you want to avoid that, here's what we can do. I'm going to take all of the unison off so we've still got this nice crisp sound, which is really regular and crisp, especially if we take this randomized button down to 0. I like how that sounds, that phase position. So here's what I wanted to show you. If we group this together, this serum, and duplicate it, I'm going to call this one left, and I'm going to call this one right. And what we're going to do is spread some of the notes out to the left and some of them out to the right. And there might be other ways to do this, but this is the way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to hit this button here, and then I'm going to find out which button I have to hit. Map. No, not map. Oh, now I can't remember. Here we go, key. Right. So this is our keyboard in effect. And we can see we've got both synths playing at the same time. And we can see that what's happening here. So what I'm going to do is just bring this bracket down. So only some of them are playing on this one and some of them are playing on this one. I think we're still in mono. So I'm going to turn off mono. And if we pan this one left and pan this one right, now only these notes are being played out to the left and only these notes are being played out to the right. So now we've got this really nice stereo width. And we can actually add something even more to this if we wanted. We could then add an auto pan to each of these, and that's going to add even more movement. Like, we're getting a bit professor now. Now you've got all this stereo width without any phasing. And we want to control both of these synths simultaneously. So what we're going to do is use this macro control. Let's just close this down and we can open up this little button here. We've got both serums left and right, like so. We're going to call this one left just to keep it even clearer so we can see what we're doing. We'll call this one right. And then we're going to open up this configure button and hit this cutoff control, okay? And it's put it in this place here. We'll do that again with the other one, cutoff control, boom. And now it's put it in this place. So we can actually now automate these controls within Serum by right-clicking and automating here, but I'm gonna go one step further because I'm feeling very special today. I'm gonna hit map, I'm gonna hit this button, and then I'm gonna map it to this macro. And then I can go to I can turn that off. Then I can go to the other one and do exactly the same thing, mapping it to the same macro. So now this one knob here is going to be controlling both serums simultaneously. Nice, let's get that reverb back in there. So now we've got this lovely stereo width. But I'm going to do one more thing, which is just add another auxiliary channel and add some delay on there. So I'll add an echo unit, 100% wet, because we don't want the dry signal being sent out and doubling up. And then we've got this effect. So next thing I'm going to do to finish off this sound is I'm going to put a compressor at the end of the chain, like so. We can get rid of that EQ now if we want. Actually, I'll leave it in for the mixing, which we'll get to later. And with this compressor, I'm going to take a sidechain input from our sidechain trigger channel, which is basically this one. It's just got a short, sharp rim shot going tick, 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 but I've set it to sends only, so we never hear it. And this is just going to trigger the sidechain compressor. The reason I use that instead of the kick drum to trigger it is because the kick drum's quite long, so it's going to limit how much you can control the length of that duck, whack. So what I've got is now this sidechain compressor. And you can hear that sound being ducked to allow space for that kick. I'm going to put one on the bass as well. I'm going to take out the low end of this synth pluck. We don't want it fighting with our bass. So everything under 120 Hertz or 100 Hertz on most things, apart from the kick and the bass, you can pretty much EQ out. And now we've got We've got a real nice groove going on, right? So next thing we've got on our magic list, before we arrange this, is finding some decent vocals. But before we do that, I'm gonna get rid of this piano. No, I'll leave the piano for something later, actually. That's gonna be cool. So we'll just minimize that for now. I'm gonna take this, duplicate it, and then what we're gonna do is create that chord progression part, because at the moment we're just holding the root note, which is a great way to start a track. So you could start a track like this, and we're gonna get to this in the arrangement stage anyway. But your track could start like this. Let's just minimize some of this. We've got a bit more visual space. Whoa, hello piano. You could pretty much start the track like this, right? But we're not gonna do that quite yet. We'll get to the arrangement soon. So first I wanna now follow these chords that we had worked out. So the actual chords can stay within the synth chords in the same place because we're just holding these chords, but the bass line needs to change, which is actually my favorite kind of bass line and melody or chord progression when the bass line changes, but the chords or the riff stays the same. So we've got the A, the F, the D, the E. So we've got the A and we need to make them change at the correct place. So that's going to be there. And we're just going to use that template from the piano as a guide. So these ones need to come down. What did I say it was? A, F, D, E. Okay. A, F, D, E. So these ones need to go down. That's nice. And then up to the E, like so. So now we've got this thing that affects, which is going to sound amazing, right? Let's put the piano chords on. I'm just going to hold that first chord though. Basically do what the synth riff's doing. So we've got this kind of effect. But listen, what happens when the chords, the bass line changes underneath? We've got this amazing effect that happens. Here we go. Yes, that's too nice. No, those chords too low now, but we'll get back to that. So next thing we need is a vocal. You've got to have a vocal on a track like this. You don't, but we're going to because we're bad boys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Splice again. I'm going to look for a vocal. I want a female vocal on this track. It's going to work well with the frequencies we've already got. And then I'm going to search for a track within, or a vocal within A minor. Now you could search for a vocal in A minor key because it's easy to transpose something from like B minor to A minor. You just take it down a couple of semitones. It's very hard to transpose a vocal from a major key to a minor key. There's a lot more work involved. So I'm going to stick to A minor to make it as simple as possible. And I'm just going to loop this and listen to some vocals at the same time. And if I get the feels, then I know I'm onto something.
Now the moon. Wasting my time.
No, get out. Get out. Right, I'm having this one. No, I should have asked nicer. Would you please get out? Never again pollute my ears. I'm going to have this one because it's really nice and floaty and sweet sounding. And this is a sweet sounding track until we make something gnarly in it, which we're going to very shortly. So here's how we make sure that it's the right tempo. First, we have to color it purple, the natural color of the human throat, like so. And then we need to make sure it's synced correctly. So this says it's 80 BPM. That's quite a big jump in BPM from 80 to 120. So it might not sound amazing, but I'm going to change to Complex Pro. Make sure it's warped to 80, and then we've got this kind of effect. We could try and make it half speed, sorry, like this. But that sounds too weird, so we're not going to do that. Let's just bring in the beginning of this loop. it's more in sync. Okay, I'm loving that, but that's kind of a backing vocal. We are going to use that later, but let's get one that people can sing along to. So I'm just going to duplicate this, and then we're going to search for another vocal. Now, once you've found a vocal that you like the sound of, you can search within that pack. If you're using something like Loop Cloud or Splice, you can, where's it gone? Okay, here we go. You can actually search within that pack by clicking on it, and then you're likely to find some other vocals that are going to work well with it because it's going to be the same singer, it's going to be recorded and processed in the same way. So I'm going to go key, A minor again within that same pack, and we can see she's got some other vocals going on. Ooh. That is beautiful. But I want something that has vocals that people can sing along to.
Now the moon has its face.
Yeah. Yeah, let's bring that one in. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So I need to make sure this is warped correctly. So again, it's A minor, which is great. We don't need to change the pitch at all, but we do need to make sure it's warped. And the warp speed is 80. 80 B of the P to the M's. So now we've got this kind of effect.
Now the moon has its face. The stars lost their charm. As I wander through the darkness, searching for someone. But your love still lingers in the depths of my soul. Like bittersweet.
I was just moving that over so it's a bit more in sync with the beats. That's cool. And now I'm going to pretty much go with my feels. So next thing we've got to do is create something from those vocals to tie everything together before we get onto the arrangement. But before we do that, if you enjoyed this and you want some training to help get to a professional level as quickly as possible, then you can check out our accelerator program below this. It's basically a year's worth of professional coaching. We've got some fantastic coaches on the team. There's 3 of us in total. All of us are professional music producers. It involves a curriculum. It involves live calls and feedback several times a week, every week, and it involves a community where you can get feedback. Our students are now signed to some of the world's biggest labels. Some of them are even touring the world as artists and DJs. And we've got many who have accrued way over 1 million streams on Spotify. So it really does work, and you can apply and see if it's for you. So let's continue. Okay, on to the next thing.
Now the moon has its face. The stars lost their charm.
I want to create a moment in this, okay? And that's going to involve these piano chords. But first, let's create the vocal atmosphere that I wanted to tell you about earlier. It's going to tie everything together. So with music production, it's very easy to just throw in a bunch of new stuff. However, if you are using a few core sounds, you can repurpose them for other things within the track, and it just brings this timbral cohesion to the whole thing, makes it feel like a proper unit. Weird way of putting it, but hey. Right, so what we're going to do is listen for this backing vocal. Like this, I love. So what I'm going to do is just copy that bit. I'm going to create an atmosphere channel. Just call it Atmos. And then what we're going to do is just paste that, consolidate it. So it's just that little bit now, rather than the whole vocal. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to reverse like this. So I've duplicated it, I've reversed it. So we've got this kind of effect. That's too loud. Calm down. It's really subtle. And I'm going to make it even more subtle by putting a reverb directly on it to really push it back in the mix. So now we got this. I'm not going to stop there. I want to create something that's got a bit more depth. So what I'm going to do is get this synth chord, and we're going to record a little bit of the reverb. So the way I'm going to do that, I'll turn off this bouncing sidechain compressor because I want to take the bounce out for a second. And then what I'm going to do is this new track that I just created, I'm going to choose the input as resampling. And what this is going to do is take everything from the main output, so that will include my auxiliary channel reverbs, and then I can sample that, like so. Just a little bit, that's all I need, just a little taste. And then this here is what I'm going to take. So now we've got this little atmosphere sound, and I'm going to actually put it down an octave and see how that sounds. So we're spreading out those frequencies and just creating something a bit deeper. Whew. Playing with the formants. And then what I'm going to do, much like I did with the vocal atmosphere, I'll bring them down next to each other because they're going to be part of the same layer, really. And now we've got this. Again, I'll put a reverb on there. Just boost the volume. I'm going to take out the low end. Sounds nice. And now, under our whole track, we can have this thing going on. But I'm going to group them together and show you one more thing. So let's call this pad. Let's just call it pad. Let's color that. I don't know. I'm going to go crazy with the coloring. I'm going to color these things freaking no, I'm going to color them green. I know. I'm going off key here. Going off piste. So let's put those together. Call this Atmos, like so. They're grouped together now. And then what we can do is add different effects to that group. So we can open it up over time. So we've got this, which sounds freaking awesome. So let's start our track, and we're going to start arranging this now because we've got our core elements. So the way I'm going to do that is just duplicate it a bunch of times. Done. That's how you arrange music. No, I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to start deleting the things that we don't need. And we're going to reintroduce that grand piano that we talked about earlier. We're going to reintroduce that very soon. So that's going to be the lead vocal. And this one here is the backing, the one beneath it. Let's color this purple. And just make sure everything's colored correctly. I'm going to color the grand piano light blue. Again, I've said it before, if anyone wants to send me a blue piano, feel free. My address is 1 Piano Road, Tunesville, Arizona, and I will gladly receive it. Here we go. Right, to start this track, we are definitely not going to be playing all our aces all at once. Let's just make sure that's okay. I'm going to consolidate this because I moved the vocal over slightly so it's perfectly in sync. I don't want to end up accidentally doing like this at any point, and that's likely to happen. So I'm going to grab the whole thing, make sure I've grabbed the little bit of quiet at the beginning, and then I'm going to just consolidate it. Yeah, it takes up a little bit more space on the hard drive, but then I know it's not going to go wrong. Oh, we've got more drums to add in too. Oh, so much good stuff to show you still. Awesome. Right, so let's start this track off. We're not going to start with the kick. Get rid of that. We are going to start with the synth, but we're going to take it right down. We need the vocals to start later. First, I'm going to do like a rough arrangement. So I'm not going to do the automation. I just want to get the building blocks of the different sections of this track. So we've got the intro section, cool. But we don't want the vocals coming in the intro section. So working in multiples of 4 or 8 or 16, we can build out where these are going to come in. And there are different techniques you can use to do this. But the easiest is to bring in a reference track and just map out the arrangement like that. So we don't want the kick coming in yet. We don't want the chord progression to change straight away. So the first bass line that come in is going to just be holding that root note, as we did earlier. I shouldn't have deleted it, but I did because I'm a crazy son of a gun. So we've got two sections of the track. We've got holding the root note, and then we've got following the chord progression. And we're going to start off holding the root note. And then I think we're going to have the drums come in with the vocals. No, we can have the main drums coming in with the vocals. So I'm going to add a couple more drums as we go, and let's just start off and we'll see what happens. Remember our atmosphere. Sounds amazing. You don't want to play the cards yet? Okay. No, not yet. Opening up those filters. That's nice. Build the tension. We need more drums to come in here. Now we're going to run into the progression change. And that's when the verse is going to come in, okay? So let's just build this out. Those vocals still need to continue. And then the bass line is going to change at that point. And that's our payoff. That's our first payoff for the arrangement, okay? But we need other drums coming in too, as I mentioned. So let's just bring those there. That's our first break. The other drums that we need are going to be a hi-hat and a couple of extra layers to give it the groove that we want. So let's just bring that here. And we can now bring that synth back down to where we were earlier. There are other automations that I'd like to show you, but first let's do this. Yeah. Some reverb. I'm just getting the feels now. Do. Okay, so let's continue that atmosphere going all the way through, like so. We could actually take that down again as well at that point. So the filter just comes down. It's all about the automation and the movement. That's what creates the interest in the track. But first we need to get those extra drums in. Oh, okay. Right, so hi-hat, main hi-hat, because we've only got those shakers and the claps at the moment, and the kick, of course. So let's go and get a hi-hat. I'm going to go for a closed hat. Oof, that's loud. And I just want something that's quite tight to help bolster this groove. So in between every kick, like so. I know it's not an open hat, but it's the open hat position, because in between each kick. And I'm going to try a few different ones as I'm playing everything else. I'm going to listen to it in situ whilst everything's playing. And again, it's the frequency I'm listening out for most. Let's just try. Again, I'm just trying to preview some as it's playing. That's kind of cool. I like that, it's nice and crisp. Let's stick with that. And again, we can feed a little bit of this room reverb out to get it to gel together. But next thing we need to do in these drums is get those claves. I never know how it's said. I actually know that you can pronounce it in a couple of different ways, clave, clave, but I love to see people comment on it. I did my research, right? So what we're going to do is now get one of these mysteriously named little things. And it's basically some bits of wood that they hit together, you know. Why don't they just call it that? Ooh. Again, I'll go from drum hits and get it. And this is one of those drums that's really important to tune to the key of the track because it's got a real distinctive pitch to it. I'm sweating like an absolute beast now. And John Summit uses a lot of these in his percussion loops too. So that's not tuned, but that is. Almost. Let's hear. It's going to be easier without everything else. Yeah. And I'm going to adjust the velocity on a couple of them to make the groove a bit more interesting. And it could be quiet, you know. I don't want too many of them though. You can again overdo it. Nice. Room reverb. Nice. And I'm going to add one more layer to this shuffle. And I'm just going to kind of go on listening out for the frequencies more than anything else. I'm actually going to layer this with a shaker. It's hitting the same like positions every 16th. So we're not going to fill out the track too much, but it's just to add that extra layer of depth. That could work too, actually. But there's a bunch of other stuff going on there. Let's use this one. But the other one could probably sound really cool in this track. Might be too much high frequencies there. So what I'm going to do is show you a really cool trick before we finalize this track. And because these are hitting the same frequencies, or some of them, we want to make sure that each layer is there for a specific reason. So I'm going to use a bit crusher, like so. It's called Redux in Ableton. And we're just going to grunge this up a bit. Like that. So now we've got some lower frequencies to feed in. Listen to the difference it makes. So this is off, and that's on. Let's just take out the real low frequencies there, because every time you add some kind of harmonic coloration, it will usually add low frequencies as well. And you don't want them cluttering up the low end too much. Nice. Last thing I'm going to do on these grooves is just add some sidechain compressor, again, to have them grooving a bit more. So then we've gone from this. I can actually group these together. Let's group them together. This will just be our shaker group. Shakers, color it green. And then I'm going to show you what this sounds like at the end. All right. So now we've got this kind of effect. Let's listen to it. I'm going to add that groove. So the sidechain compressor, I'm just going to do at the group level. And this is the difference it makes. So this is with the sidechain compressor off. And this is on. So it's just dancing around the kick a little bit more. So let's bring this all together. And I'm going to arrange this as we go. And then I'm going to play you the finished bit. So we could have some group processing here as well. Keep that. Have that opening up too. Always opening stuff up. Yes. Yes! Let's open up these synth chords too. Oh, it's too much fun. Reverb tail. Take the bass down. Oh! Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more work on this and then we're going to hear the finished thing in 3, 2, 1, go. Let's just play with some of the settings as we go. Ooh, drums. The bass, we can open that up over time. Bring it down. Get ready. Nice. Open up that vocal. Oh, we've got more drums we can bring in as well. Wait till these drums come in after the break. Here we go, we're building up. Here we go. Yes! Timer went off. We can take the filter down there. Let's keep going. Keep going. Yes. Take it down. Build it up. Oh. Okay. Oh, tune. Now we show every stage of creating from this idea into a finished track within the Accelerator program, so if that's something you're interested in, you can check out the details below. And as usual, you can download this project file, all the samples completely free below this video. And if you enjoyed this, check out this deep melodic house video where I show you how you can take a pop hit and then remix it, take the stem and create something completely new and fresh from it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you over at the next video.